Okay, I'm kind of excited because I have been making my last few videos on like my pregnancy, morning sickness, whatever. And just now I tried recording another video and I was like, so I kind of gave up. And then a minute ago I was like, I've been wanting to do a video on this for years and I haven't yet. Why don't I do that? So I'm going to tell you about my box method system. That sounds strange, huh? I'm going to tell you about it because you're going to love it. So, I think it was like 3 years ago, 3 or 4, maybe 3, that I discovered this system. I was trying to do the KonMari method. It was really hard because I needed to clean my house first because I couldn't really gather my stuff to, do each category, but I couldn't really clean my house because I needed to get rid of stuff first, but I couldn't really get rid of stuff because I needed to clean my house first. Anyway, I had this growing desire pop into my head that I wanted to have just this separate room where I could just put anything that I could consider getting rid of. Just keep it in there. And it grew and grew and grew, but it never worked out. Like it still hasn't. Kind of has. But it just didn't work out. And finally, one day, I stepped on one of my kids' toys. I don't remember what it was. All I remember was that I broke something, and I broke something a few weeks later, and both times it was like, oh, that's too bad. And it was kind of a relief that I broke those two things, and it was like, why am I keeping stuff that makes me feel that way? Why do we have this stuff in our house? But anyway, what I ended up doing, finally, because we needed to find a very important card one day, searched my house, tore the house apart. It was a mess. It was awful. And so I finally was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take a box and I'm gonna ask what would happen if this disappeared. Now there are all sorts of questions out there of what you could ask, but man, this one worked for me. And I didn't get rid of the stuff I threw in the box, okay? Because for me, if you're great at multitasking, you might find it super easy. You're just constantly getting rid of stuff. But I've actually told this secret to other women who are great at getting rid of stuff. I actually felt like I was great at getting rid of stuff too. But I've told this to other women who are great at getting rid of stuff, and it helped them. So this is what I did. I just decided one day I went through my whole house. And yeah, I did my whole house in one day. You can't do that. In other ways of cleaning, you just can't do that. Because you have to pause and be like, should I get rid of this? Should I keep this? That's why the KonMari method is so effective, but if you can't do the KonMari method, it's hard for it to be as effective, if that makes sense. How can you not do the KonMari method? I don't know, if you have a house full of kids, and most of it's their stuff. So, let me just finish though. I went to the first box and was like, hey, okay, grabbed a box, and I was fed up. Grabbed a box, sat down on my bedroom floor, and just started grabbing stuff and thinking, what would happen if this dope disappeared? Just started feeling a box. I thought I might fill a box. I filled boxes and boxes. What would happen if this disappeared? I just kept going through my room, and I started pushing the boxes up against the corner in my room. I didn't have any storage spaces. I didn't have anywhere to put this. My last house was pretty small. So in the corner in my bedroom it went. And you know what was awesome? You'd think that would be like, oh no, what if I need to find something? Hey, it was stuff that I wouldn't be looking for. We ended up looking for a couple of things, but honestly, a few months later, I was like, what is in those boxes? I was just baffled that I would keep so much that we didn't really use. It was just phenomenal. Anyway, went through my whole house with that process and took out, just gathered everything that was just kind of or like, what do I do with this? Basically, what would happen if this disappeared? And some of them were actually kind of important toys that my kids had liked. But when your kids' toys are just sitting on the floor for a few weeks, they don't mean anything to your kids anymore, okay? Are they gonna miss them? Nope. They clearly didn't miss them on the floor in your bedroom. What you want to do though is not pause and organize and set up that toy set because suddenly it's appealing again. You just pick up the mess and stick it in a box, and then they won't go digging through it. So, this is what I did. Went through my whole house that day and suddenly had a clean house. And everything that was important was easily accessible. And there was room for it. It was amazing. 2 days later, I was in my kitchen, cleaning my kitchen, and I looked out over my family room. And this was a huge moment for me because for the previous week, and just a few days before that, every single night, we spent close to 45 minutes sweeping the kitchen and the dining room and the family room and the hallway and just putting stuff away for half an hour to 45 minutes. It drove me nuts. It just drove me crazy that we were wasting that much time every night putting stuff away. It bothered me so bad. And the second day after I did this box method, I was in my kitchen cleaning and I looked out at the mess we'd have to clean up that night and was blown away. There was a pillow and I think there was something else on the floor. And that was it. My kids didn't get bored for 1 second. You know why? Because kids don't want to play with mess. When their room's a mess, they don't want to play with the mess. They don't want to play in there. So my kids weren't bored and my house was clean and it was really easy to what was happening. So since then, I have completed this process a few times and I've learned some rules of thumb that help it to stay a useful tool. And I've learned some tips and tricks and some things that just really help me to thoroughly enjoy this method. And yep, it's called the box method and you can actually use bags. I've known of people who will just grab garbage bags. I prefer boxes. They're nice. And you probably already have some questions. Go ahead and ask in the comments below. But the first thing I will say is what if you need to find something? In my personal experience, the couple of times we've had to find something, it was way easier to go over to a box that was oh, this is stuff that was in the kids' room, dump it out on my bed, and then scoop everything back in the box. Then to go into my kids' room and be digging under beds and scooting around the floor. So much easier to do it from a box, okay? But wait, it gets better. So what did I do with that stuff eventually? Well, it sat in that corner and I was you know what I did? I lived my life. I put my stuff on hold. All my life, I'd been putting my life on hold so I could get my stuff in order. And finally one day I put my stuff on hold to get my life in order. It was amazing. So none of your important stuff's in there. Your kids' Sunday shoes, well, I guess my kids haven't worn Sunday shoes lately. We're in quarantine. But for me, my kids' Sunday shoes wouldn't make it into the box because as soon as I see them, I'd be like, oh, these are important. Or, my kid's favorite little toy. Oh, this is important. As soon as I saw it, I could feel it. They used it. Even when their bedroom was messy, they would pull it out and use it. And other toys, when their bedroom was messy, it would just sit there for just almost rotting forever. Okay? So for me, it almost feels like putting them in boxes is like putting them in a refrigerator, preserving their integrity versus just having them out on the floor doing nothing. So yeah, what did I do with those boxes? The stuff sat there for a few weeks and my life was not on hold and we enjoyed our life and our family was doing more fun stuff together. Oh, you guys, it was awesome. Awesome. And after a few weeks, I accumulated more and more time. I caught up on different things and I was like, okay, I've got some spare time. What's in those boxes? And so I proceeded to dump each one out and I was just blown away. Stuff I would never have considered getting rid of because I saw it sitting around my house all the time. It's hey, oh, I wouldn't even think of getting rid of it because I was used to seeing it. But there was a ton of stuff I realized we were never going to miss. So I grabbed the trash bags, white trash bags, and filled up a whole trash bag just in a few seconds and kept going through boxes and boxes. And so I went from what would have taken, a couple of hours to declutter and go through stuff and decide, should I keep this? Should I not keep this? To instantly knowing. Because it's almost like when your stuff is around your house, it's like there's dust all around you and you kind of can see and you're discerning through the dust. Yeah, I think I want to keep this. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of that. It's as if when you let it sit in those boxes, the dust settles completely. And there's just this clarity. And as I dumped things out, it was like instant knowing. Whoa, Okay, so not only did I fill up one bag full of stuff that I realized we're not gonna miss this at all, I filled up another bag and another bag and I filled up our entire trunk. Now, I had been successful with the KonMari method before that. I got rid of like 3 bags. It was like half an hour, and I filled up the entire trunk of our car of stuff. Like, I didn't even know I had that much stuff. Okay, and this was just stuff on my floor. I didn't dig into closets. I did eventually. I don't recommend digging into closets if you're gonna try to do it in one day like I did the first day. Just get the main, unless your house is pretty clean, just get just what's out on the floor and get that main stuff. Anyway, I've got tons of tips and tricks and process ideas of how to do it so you can be the most successful. But man, oh, that was such a huge difference for me. And just as I get rid of stuff through this process, I'm fully detached from everything. It's just so peaceful and so clear versus I should force myself to get rid of this. Here's another thing about this method is that before there were things that I would be like, oh, I guess I'm not using this. Like, I probably won't. Okay, I should make myself get rid of this. I could not believe how much stuff in my house I wasn't considering. It didn't even occur to me to think about getting rid of it, that I would never miss, that I was able to instantly, well, I'm done with that. And part of it is you're living a new life. Your house is so much cleaner. It's empty, it's free, it's clear. Well, not empty, you're surrounded by important stuff. The stuff that's not as important made it into the boxes. The stuff that's important to you is surrounding you. So you're constantly surrounded now by important stuff. You're only putting away important stuff. And then one day you dump out this box of unimportant stuff and it's like, whoa, where'd this come from? I don't want this anymore. Now, granted, there were some items I kept for a while that just stayed in the box method system. I never pulled them out. Even for a couple of years, I never pulled them out. I think one of the items I did get rid of, I think I'm just gonna go buy it again. It was $6. It sparked joy, even though it sat in that bin not used. I was always happy to see it. I guess it was a baby item, so I'll probably get it for this next baby that's coming. But anyway, just so you know, it's a phenomenal experience. And you go from taking care of your stuff, taking care of your clutter, trying to figure things out, this circus, what do they call it? On this hamster wheel. And you just decide, you know what? I'm sick of dealing with this clutter and deciding what to get rid of, what to keep. I'm setting it aside. And the people I have talked to, who I've taught this method to, even though they have, been really good at getting rid of stuff before, once they do this, it's just so much easier. They get rid of way more. Now, the results are going to depend person to person. There are some people who are just like, they get rid of pretty much everything, no problems asked, or no questions, like no problem whatsoever for them. But there's one of them that I did tell this method to, and it helped them as well. But I still think different degrees. It's going to help different people in different degrees. So I could tell you there are so many videos I could make on this topic, on how to be successful, how to maintain success, what to do. One great tip is if somebody brings over, hey, I've got a box of this stuff. You don't have to keep all of it. Just take the rest to the thrift store, just blah, blah, blah. For me, what used to happen is all of it would come into my house and it would be in a bag and I'd want to do something with the bag. So I'd put it all away around my house and then it would just become clutter around my house and it was hard to get rid of. And it was so hard. Well, a secret I've learned is if you do this, you will create a space for your box method system. We thought about renaming it. It's not going to be renamed. This is the box method system. You can call it something else if you want. But for me at my last house, we didn't have like a spare room or something. For somebody I knew, they ended up doing pretty much this process. They even told me about it. I didn't know what it was though, but we came up with a name later, where they just put stuff in their bathtub. And they did it for the Christmas season, but we're like, why not set aside the unimportant stuff all year long? And when we do that, it kind of takes care of itself. But anyway, she stored hers in her unfinished bathtub they weren't using anyway. That's where they stored their stuff. But for me, it was the side of my bedroom. And that stuff kind of sits there. It's like a freezer where you can, you fry I forget how it goes. Where you don't fry your small fish first. Basically, if you have a table of fish that you need to fry, then you're going to fry like the most expensive, high quality stuff first. And if the rest of it goes bad, you took care of the important stuff, right? Well, this is taking a freezer and you're putting your less important fish in the freezer. So none of it has to go bad. That's what you're doing. And except instead of the items going bad, your life is spoiling because you're trying to live your life with all this stuff surrounding you. One day you'll eventually get to decluttering it. Until then, you're surrounded by all this clutter. So, one side note I will make is that we've made a new definition for clutter. This is not in the dictionary, but this is something that has really helped us to define what is worthy to stay out and what is not. When you set your table for dinner and you put beautiful clean plates on the table and your food, those plates are important and useful. As soon as those plates, when everyone's finished eating and your plates are sitting on the table, that's clutter. You take care of them. You don't put them in the box method system. You put them at the sink because you're going to use them the very next day. You wash those dishes. But there are some items that we use, or we think we're going to use. They're kind of just sitting in our room. We're not using them right now. We're not thinking of using them right now. They're kind of just there for a reminder or whatever reason. And they're clutter. And there are other items that are in our space that we are going to use, that they are useful. So just having that level of just discerning those different things. But yeah, the main point is to put your clutter, just extra stuff, the things that aren't important to you right now, on hold. Not your life. That stuff gets put on hold. And man, the dust really settles and it's so much easier to get rid of the things that don't matter. And the most incredible part is the time that you get to spend doing the things that matter to you. And that makes it so much easier when you do go back through those boxes to get rid of stuff. So I will probably be doing more videos on this topic. I actually have very specific guidelines because I've done this before and then I kind of fall back. I forgot to tell you what to do about when someone brings you a bag or boxes of stuff. If new stuff enters your house, this even counts for Christmas presents and other things, just depending. When new stuff enters your house, gather it, put it in your box method system. This isn't a shame place of useless stuff. Put it there, and as things are desired and recognized, and where's this, where's that, this is important, especially if someone were to bring me a bunch of clothes. I've learned to not stick it in my closet right away. Leave it down there, I'll go pull things out, and then it's so much easier to get rid of it because I've never given it a permanent home. Hey, you belong in my closet. I haven't done that. And so when it's time to get rid of it, it's like, this still isn't mine, and I just have no interest in pulling this out of the bag. I can pull it out for a second and be like, nope, don't want it. It's so much easier to get rid of stuff that way. To leave it, ready to go to the thrift store, never claiming ownership over it by sticking it in my closet. So I will be making more videos to help describe processes that have helped me to be successful as I do this. This is our second house we've lived in while I've known this process. Sometimes I would get overwhelmed and I've sought inspiration and I've done a lot of thinking and I've learned a lot of key components to be successful in creating a clean and orderly home and just really finding that happy place where you're able to keep your home clean. So I hope you'll subscribe because that's one of my biggest things I've wanted to teach. It's been one of my biggest goals is to teach women or men, whoever it is that just wants to have that experience of having a peaceful home. And you can have a clean home. It's very possible. I have 3 children that have plenty of stuff. But this just makes it a zillion times easier. So I hope you'll subscribe. And if you want to just get started now as I upload videos, feel free to go grab a box and just walk around your house. Some of the people I've taught this to are like, where would I even use this? Because it just sounds crazy. And they've ended up, you know, finding a box and like, oh, and they keep it in their kitchen. When they find random things, they're like, what do I do with this? Like, because it's not useful, it's not important, but I can't really get rid of it. And then they just start throwing it into the box, and they're able to, I think that one step helps us to let go of that item. And then they're able to, here, one of the important things to note is that too often we're trying to multitask. Scientists have proved that multitasking isn't always the most effective, and so too often we're trying to expect ourselves to clean and get rid of stuff at the same time. To declutter, like, too much multitasking. And I think that is why the KonMari method is so effective for so many people. You are focusing only on decluttering. With the box method, you are focusing only on separating out, this is important, this is not important. And then when the time comes for you to go through those boxes in the future, then your only focus is basically, you know, what you're ready to get rid of. It's one focus. You're not cleaning and trying to get rid of stuff. And so it's extremely effective. Has been extremely effective for me and for some other people. So I will be sharing my best tips and order just other box method inspiration. But go ahead, go grab a box or something. You could even start in a closet. I've done this with my kitchen, and just kind of think what would happen if this disappeared and see how you would feel if it disappeared. And then just start throwing things into boxes. And you know what? If you find something you're definitely like, whoa, I'm 100% getting rid of this, feel free to have a different bag or box for stuff you're definitely getting rid of. But somehow having this in-between place really creates a neutral space for people to open up, like, to open their possibilities of what they're willing to get rid of so much bigger, to where they're able to pull way more out of their main living spaces, so that they can confidently pull all that stuff out of their main living spaces. They can go back and get it if they need to. It's out of their main living spaces now. And then they just have this freedom in their living spaces. And they're experiencing the life they want. They're surrounded with what's important to them. And then when they go back to the box method system, when they go back to be like, what is in these boxes? It is important to let those boxes sit for a little bit, depending on the person, because you get to experience your life. You get to experience being surrounded by stuff that's important. And then when you go back to those boxes, it is so much more clear of, whoa, why did I think I needed to do something with this? Why did I think I needed to hang on to this? And it's so much easier to get rid of a lot. So that's the box method system for you. Feel free to go grab a box right now and start going through your house. What would happen if this disappeared? And just let me know in the comments how that goes for you. And if you're like others, it's okay if you don't start right away if you're skeptical, but keep this in your toolbox. Or you could box method it and put it to the side until it's useful. And feel free to share it with your friends, anyone who just has been trying to declutter for a long time and they've struggled with it. Feel free to share this with them. But yeah, I will be sharing a lot of other videos because there's a lot of other information I have to share with you, and other hacks and tips that have helped this to be extremely successful and very productive. So thank you for watching. Go ahead and subscribe and share this with your friends who you know are on this journey, who would like some help, who this might help them out.